So baby Hugo. I want to know about baby Hugo.
Baby Hugo. Yeah, man. I mean, dude, I've grown up, ever since I was little. Like I kind of had already even though my obviously my parents weren't in the military, they're immigrants that came from Mexico.
Okay.
We typically, we moved around quite a bit, because my dad would get a better job, he'd go somewhere else, and he always had that mentality that like, I'm gonna do what I can to improve my situation and improve my family situation. So he would, he would take jobs and we would go different places, so I kind of got into that, used to that cycle of like, all right, we're gonna be here for a little bit and we're waiting for dad to pick up that next rank or that next level, and then we're gonna go to the next spot, and so I grew up in a typical Mexican family. I got 3 other brothers. I love those guys to death, and growing up, I wasn't always like that, I wasn't the type of person that I am today. I was always messing around in school, I would play sports, but I wasn't really like that athletically gifted type, I was
What was
always
your
just
sport of
real.
choice?
I did wrestling and football,
Oh,
and
snap.
yeah,
Okay.
man. Yeah, I mean, I like, dude. I'll be honest with you, man. I freaking sucked at wrestling. Like, it was rough. You know what I mean?
A lot of people do when
But
they start.
yeah, man. But because I started in high school. I started right off the bat, freshman
Okay.
year, and I was just like, I was really like I was really drawn to it because it was challenging. Like you really had to give it. You had to give it your all, and it was only you. There was no team around, and it was just however good you did, there was always room for improvement, but it was all on how much you could drive yourself, and it really measured how much heart a person had. And so I was always drawn to that. And then when I was a junior in high school, the whole 9/11 thing happened, and
Wow.
that started to shift my perspective as far as like, man, I felt kind of a sense of duty of wanting to be, to do something about what had just happened, with the country, with the attacks, with everything. And so I had started talking to one of the recruiters,
Whoa,
and
whoa, whoa. Hold on one quick before we go too far up,
yeah.
because I want to make sure we paint, because we got a good amount of time to paint the segment of you prior to, and believe me, we're gonna have so much time to go over that, and I'm
Yeah.
so interested in it. So you said that you wrestled and you started while you were in high school.
Yeah.
Like how far did you get with that? And then when did you start football? And like how far along did you actually get with that?
Oh, so my you know I started with both in my freshman year.
Okay.
Growing up when I was younger, never really played sports at all. Never did it. Any type of like organized sports. Obviously, I would play with my brothers. We'd go to the park, play with other kids, stuff like that. But as far as organized sports, I never did it until I was like in high school.
Right.
And right off the bat, my freshman year, very first year of wrestling, I'm having to wrestle varsity because at the time there we were a new program, like the program had been around but wasn't too popular, and
Right.
so I got thrown in. There was like, hey, we got no one in this spot. You're guess what, you're now varsity in this spot, and here I am, like brand new, never like never really wrestled other than playing, doing WWF with my brothers in the living room.
Yes.
I'm like do some elbow smashes. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
off the top rope. Nah, man,
Somebody's gonna get tombstone. I don't
yeah,
know.
someone's gonna get the stunner, and no, it wasn't like that at all, man. I went in there, I got my ass whooped, like it was bad, man. Like first match I had was against this kid, like he was a senior, freaking solid, he 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 was just like, man, he made my nose bleed, all this stuff, and I'm just like, man, this is a sport, man. This is a struggle. And so, I mean, I didn't have any of the strength or the endurance that the like seniors had, because some of these guys have been doing it for like ever. They've been doing it since they were 4 years old and stuff. And me coming into it, I it really in the moment, like that season being a freshman on my first year wrestling, it really taught, like, in the moment, I was like, man, I was really disappointed because I ended up having like a 4-20 record, like where I
Oh
was like going
wow.
in and I was getting smoked every single match because it was like seniors, you know what I mean? And those
Right.
4 wins were like to the same 2 dudes like one school. You know what I mean?
You just had
Every
their
time
number, huh?
I'd be like, hey, everybody else might beat me, but you ain't beating me. And it was like, you know,
Yeah.
it was like their C string, you know, the
Sure.
junior JV dude that they threw out there just to
They came off the injured reserve and they just threw
yeah,
him in the. Yeah.
they're like, hey, you're gonna wrestle this guy with no leg, man. Hopefully you win.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I won by a point, you know, it was
No
close.
knee bars.
No, 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 man. So it was just it was rough, man. But you know, going back and looking at it in retrospect, it's like, you know, that taught me that season of losing, it taught me to develop a mindset of just having heart despite the situation, despite what was going on. Because I
Right.
you know, I could have been like after the second or third loss and been like, man, these guys are seniors. These guys have been doing it forever. These guys are you know, they're too strong for me. I could have made every single excuse, but I stuck with it the whole season. You know what I mean? And then I ended up,
Right.
you know, I ended up continuing with it, and then like I just fell in love with it. Even though the losses sucked, I liked the process that I was going through because you know during the summertime, I would go like I had the we where I lived at there was this huge riverbed, and I would go and I would start running. I would run. I put on a bunch of plastic bags, the sweats and everything, so I can drop weight and start running through the riverbeds. I'd start like lifting weights on my own and doing different things to try and improve. And you
Right.
know, I kept progressing, and you know, I played football my sophomore year. Didn't really have too much into it because I was like more enthused with like wrestling and everything.
What position did you play in football?
I played nose guard and then left guard and mostly
I hated playing on the
bench there,
line.
man. Yeah,
I maybe I was just like one of those like I like to hit, you know, because
yeah,
I was like, believe it or not, I mean, even though the guns are out, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I was always like the shortest and
yeah,
skinniest kid in school.
yeah,
Like I didn't hit 6 foot until like my junior year in high school. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And like I like to play receiver because I always felt like I could jump higher than most people. If you threw it anywhere, my hands were just nice. Or like I learned to eventually play quarterback because I was so strong at throwing the football, I can launch it deep. And you know, like during school, you
dude.
always have those like
You,
little nerve balls for lunch.
no, you know what I remember? You just made me think of that time we played. What was it? We were on an off cycle. We were on break,
Right,
and First Sergeant made us come in, and we had to do like just a you know a whatever PT session, right? And
right.
we're over there playing freaking dodge. We're playing dodgeball, and
Oh, I do
our,
remember
our
that in the gym.
dude, you were murdering people, man. I was like sitting there. At first, I was like, all right, let's go, bring it, bring it, bring it. And then you're like, wham, and you like hit someone in the head, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, this dude can throw, man. I was like, all right, hey, I'm gonna go get some water. I came back
Yeah.
like 20 minutes later.
Hey, I was getting my licks back from everybody talking crap throughout the cycle. I was like,
I know,
oh,
man.
I'm new, so y'all want to take advantage. Man, I want all the smoke.
Dude, I remember you were throwing some heat, and I was like, damn, how's he throwing dodgeballs like that, man?
I forgot all about that, but yeah, that was
Yeah,
it. And then we did some basketball in between time too. So that's definitely some good times.